Good day and welcome to our second episode of Bantu Expressions under Linking Space TV. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Well, today's topic is quite interesting. We will be unpacking the election results of the general elections that were held on the 8th of May. Also as well, we'll be discussing the composition of President Cyril Ramaphosa's cabinet. So today is going to be quite interesting. I have brought respondents from the University of Johannesburg, both of who are enthusiastic politics students. So stay back, relax, and enjoy. You don't want to wish this. I am Dioho Arkoza, signing for Bantu Expressions. You can find me on Instagram under authentic_Cabral. Also on Linking Space TV, Bantu Expressions. Please don't forget to sign and subscribe. Thank you. Welcome back. As I said, welcome to Bantu Expressions, the youth student platform that gives you the opportunity to say what you want, how you say it, and to who you wish to say to. As I said, today's episode we are unpacking the 2019 general election results, and also, as this has been on the debate and the topic of everyone in South Africa, the composition of Cyril's 26th cabinet. You get my point? So right now I'm joined by Thando Gwachu, who's studying at UJ. He's studying politics and international relations, and also is a member of SASCO, an affiliate of the ANC. And here I am joined by Mr. Buso Sol. He's studying politics, philosophy, and economics, and also is a member of the Economic Freedom Fighters SC at the University of Johannesburg APK campus. So, gentlemen, we voted 8th May. We voted and the results came out. I think just to bring in on start with, I think in my opinion, when we look at the minority parties like your Freedom Front Plus, I think I was quite shocked for them, to be rising to 10 seats. When we look at the 2014 general election, they just only received above a 0.80%, and that gave them about 4 seats. But right now, they came with 2.38%, and that gave them 6 seats. So in total today, they have 10 seats in the parliament. Just to bring you on, what do you think might have added to the populace of the VF in the parliament? In your opinion, Mr. Kwachu, what do you think?
Well, I think the discourse pushed in society and parliament in particular becomes very important in terms of how the public reacts to that discourse. And I think now more than ever, the white population, as we know the Freedom Front Plus to be a political party that speaks unto that minority, they've told themselves that the narrative of land, the narrative of decolonization that has been pushed now has been so violent to them that they thought that now more than ever, they need to wake up. They need to go to those polling stations and say what is left of that white community, of those narratives that they push about, which happen to be liberal, which happen to be anti-expropriation.
Just to stop you on that one, when you speak of land expropriation without compensation, also to bring you on this one, Puso, I think the rhetoric that I've heard on the street was that, the DA itself, it decreased from, in 2014 it had 89 seats, that is your 22.23%, to 2019 having just to 20.76, meaning from 89 seats to 84 seats. The DA, it aimed to attract the so-called black middle class so that it can reach the bottom, so that there can be a coalition government. But immediately the DA moving to black interests, some are saying some of their predominantly white voters felt left out because their interests are now shifting. And then when we look at the land issue, some are saying it is the EFF who gave ammunition to the Freedom Front, because by pushing the land issue, the DA over trying to get the black vote, the Freedom Front became the alternative to many white people. What is your take that the EFF gave ammunition to the VF so that it can stand to where it is by default?
I think that when we look at the 2019 general elections, essentially they were elections about the land. And I say this because the shifting of votes from the DA, from the white voters who left the DA, open defiance and went to a right-wing Afrikaner party, like the VF Plus. What they did is because, number one, the DA is not clear about. There's no policy certainty in the Democratic Alliance. They're not clear. They want to appeal to everyone. You know,
that's why they say they're the center party.
Yeah, they want to appeal to everyone. So there's no certainty if you are trying to save everyone. In a country like South Africa, it's either you are going to take the approach of the EFF, which is pro-black, or the approach of VF Plus, because VF Plus is unapologetic. They're saying that they are for white.
So you are saying
white.
We have two parties who are on the opposite ends. Where you have the EFF, basically you can say somewhere in the left, and the VF in the right. But the VF is simply for white voters, whereas the EFF is for black voters. Is that what you are saying? It is. Yes. It's a system where parties are on two ends.
Yes, and even how VF Plus performed in these elections. It's a question of, like what he alluded to, it's a question of the land, it's a question of white supremacy reinventing itself.
Because I mean,
look at what they're doing, the VF Plus. And here's the thing that is most interesting. From 2004 until 2014, the VF Plus has been consistent. They were not losing votes, they were not going up, they were consistent. Even in terms of their representation in parliament, they were consistent. But now, for the past 5 years, because there's been that narrative, the dominant narrative that has shaped the past 5 years, has been the question of land, the question of, when we talk about fees must fall, decolonization.
You might say that white privilege and white interest is under attack.
White privilege. So now, white supremacy is reinventing itself, and the VS Plus is doing this arrogantly. Look what they're doing. They're taking Verwoerd's grandson to the parliament.
Okay.
It's a political statement from the VS Plus, from the Afrikaner minority, from the white minority in this country, to say that, you know what, even after 25 years, we are not ready and we're not going to let go of our privilege just like that. So it's a political statement, and it has to be seen like that.
Okay. Yeah. So now, speaking about numbers, I'm bringing you on this one, Thando. The ANC, congratulations. You won the elections. You are leading the 26th parliament. I feel like congratulations need to be sent. But I need to highlight this. The ANC has been in a constant decline. I mean, the last time you were on a rise was in the 1999 elections, when you secured that famous 2/3 majority in the tenure of Thabo Mbeki. But from 2004, there's been some time of a steady decline. And when we look back past the Zuma administration, the past 8 to 10 years or so, as the finance minister said, wasted 10 years. Are you saying that, in your opinion, the Zuma administration is to be blamed for the decrease from once we had in 2014 from 249 seats to just 30 seats? That's your 62% to just below 57%. In your opinion, are you saying that the Zuma administration is to be blamed for this decrease?
No, I really won't say that, because I think the decrease must be traced within maturing democracies. There's a greater narrative there to be told as to what happens with huge organizations in many countries with maturing democracies. There are narratives that come as a result of new political organizations. Fragmentations within the organization also impact the number that you gain in elections. Perceptions of people, of leaders within those organizations also plays a huge role. Is it a wasted 10 years? I don't necessarily think so. It's important that we look at Thabo Mbeki's Twitter a statement where he said himself, Ubuti, the Zuma administration actually delivered more than he had in his administration, in terms of access to housing, in terms of education, people that have been able to access institutions of higher learning, in terms of improvement infrastructurally, in terms of gains that we ought to speak about. Yes, there were internal conflicts that the organization had to deal with as a result of disagreements, but I don't think that we take a bold statement insofar as saying that it was 10 wasted years. It was 10 years where we saw a significant change in terms of how we deal with internal issues and the political dynamics within the African National Congress. But we can't boldly say it's a wasted 10 years. A wasted 10 years would entail that a president was sitting at home and doing nothing, and that's not necessarily what was happening.
Okay, I get your point, but I think you can agree with me that the dominant party system that the ANC held, it's going away, it's decreasing. Can you agree on that?
Not necessarily. You see, like I said, you would have to argue that now the ANC does not have more than 50%. And it's also significant for us to look that even at our crippled state, no organization was able to defeat us. Now, the question then we need to implore after that is, how are they going to do that now that we are reimagining ourselves outside of the years that you're speaking out of? How are they going to do that now we are rebuilding within the ANC? We think that the ANC is still going to dominate. We think that the people generally on the ground really appreciate and love the ANC, and that is why we still maintained over 50% of the majority.
But my friend, I need to caution you on this one. Like when you speak of the ANC is now going towards a trend that we've seen in other liberation movements in Africa. You get my point? It is now moving away from, because it looks like the ANC is losing base in the urban areas, in the metropolitans. You get my point? It was a very tight race in Gauteng. And when we look at, let's say, Mozambique, when you look at your Frente de Libertación de Mozambique, your Frelimo itself, and your ZANU-PF, they've lost most of their constituencies in the metropolitan areas and are mostly based in the rural areas, of which many are arguing it's quite the same trend with the ANC. Are you agreeing with that?
Sure. You see, like I said, now then, that phase has happened now, where we've seen a significant loss. Now, all of these structures that you're speaking about have always depended on how they respond to that loss in the urban areas. So some have not realized their mistakes, still did the same things, and continued not to serve the interest of those people. We've seen it with Frelimo, like you say, we've seen it with ZANU-PF, where you have denialists in the organization stating that there's not much bad that we've done, there's great things that we can only achieve. I think this is where the difference is with the African National Congress, because there seems to be some concession that there's been a lot of mistakes that we've engaged in. And this is why now more than ever we need to sit as an organization and sort of clean those mistakes, and clean the image of the ANC. This is why we speak about repositioning and reimagining the ANC now outside of the era that it was. And I think that is why specifically now we are going to go back to those spaces and still inspire confidence in those.
So I need you to hold on that point. I'm bringing you on this one, Mr. Sound. The EFF. It is I think it is the only party in this 26th parliament that received a significant growth besides the VF and the IFP. I mean, 2014 election, the EFF came with just only 6.35%. And it was considered the new kid on the block. That 6.25% gave you 25 seats. 2019 general election, the EFF got 10.79%, and that just gives them 44 seats. That's an increase of 19 seats. That is a win. But I need to bring you back on this one. Your CIC said he will consider it a win once immediately you go across maybe perhaps 12%, meaning that the growth rate from 6 to 12%. But that did not happen. In your opinion, are you disappointed? What might contributed from you not receiving that goal?
Well, in my opinion, I'm not disappointed. It's just that I was expecting quite more, because I thought that we had the ability as the party to perform quite well. Like I share the same sentiments with the CIC. I was also expecting a little bit more, between 12% and 15%.
Okay.
But 10% is still good.
It's something. Yeah.
There's something that is interesting about when we speak about the three bigger parties in South Africa today. It is that in relation to the elections, it is that it's only the EFF that has not lost a single vote.
Yes.
In fact, we have gained.
So we can safely say by de facto, you are the winners by de facto.
This is actually what we meant when we said we are going to win.
Okay.
Because we didn't lose any votes. So what it means is that the people that voted for us when we were 8 months old, when we didn't have resources, when it was just basically anything, a new movement. When only we had was a message of hope for economic freedom.
Okay.
Those are the people that went out during these elections based on the performance of the past 5 years to say we are satisfied with this party, and we think that they've represented us quite well. And every electoral promise that they made in 2014, they kept it. So they went out and said, you know what, we're going to mobilize and campaign for the EFF.
Just to stop you on this one, Mr. Kwachu, I see you are smiling when he says they won by de facto. What is your point on that?
No, No, firstly, congratulations on the gains of the EFF. We must acknowledge that, and we must acknowledge that they are a growing party. That, by the way, by default, also kept the ANC in check. We must admit to those gains, and we have congratulated forces on the ground. But no, it was fine because the narratives pushed prior to that election are not reflecting.
Are quite different from what you are hearing right
the
now.
Conversation that we hear now in the spaces where we occupy with these comrades, because they entered these elections very confident that they were a government in waiting, that they wanted 1 million votes in every province.
1 million vote
per province.
No, but can I come in?
Yes, please.
You don't enter a contest, even if it's a beauty contest, with the mentality that you're going to lose. Imagine had we went into these elections and we tell more than 1 million of South Africans who voted for us, actually millions of South Africans who are eligible to vote. We're telling them, you know what, vote for us, but we know you're not going to win. People are not going to draw inspiration. People are not going to be motivated. But if you go with the mentality that, we're going to win, we are the government in waiting, then the people are going to say, no, these guys are confident. Or we didn't expect to win, to move from 6% to 50%. I mean, that doesn't happen. It's not SRC elections. I mean, Tando will tell you here in UJ, it is easy for a party to move from 0% this year, and in the next SRC elections you go to 100. That thing is very easy. But when we talk about the country, there are a lot of factors that we have to take into place, and that's the mentality that we approach these elections as they happen. And by the way, I don't think that, as you said, the ANC will reinvent or what. Please me tell you, this 2 man me now of the ANC, it's a farce. It's a ploy, it's a smoke screen to dupe the masses and to send a wrong message out there that the ANC, they're doing self-reflection, all these things, because it's not happening. And this talk about self-reflection in the ANC is not new. It didn't come with zero. It's been there. Zuma came with it. It's been there. We know this thing. So even this whole narrative that has come from certain quarters within the ANC, and I'm glad that it doesn't align with that quarters of the 9 wasted years. I'm glad that it doesn't align, because what that narrative sought to create was that they wanted to shift our attention from the past 25 years, which were monumental,
and then blame it all on Zuma.
What they tried to do was that they tried to create Zuma. They tried to crucify Zuma. So Zuma must be a Jesus Christ that died for people's sins.
He's a soldier.
And it's the same thing that the apartheid government, post 94, what they did with Eugene de Kock. They tried to Eugene de Kock now. There were those few.
Plant all the matters.
There were those few who had now to take, the burden and the blame of apartheid.
48 years.
Or 48 years. We're not going to allow that. We're going to say that, the past 25 years were wasted. That's the narrative.
All right. To stop you on that one, to our viewers at home, these elections were it had some kind of a strange outcome. I mean, when we look at parties like the IFP, Inkatha Freedom Party, I mean, some have been saying it's been very much on a decline, but it looks like it has continued to control its status. I mean, it came on 2014 just with a 2.40%, 10 seats. Now they just rose to 3.38% with 14 seats. I mean, this is quite something. The surprising was COPE and your UDM and your Agang SA, where it was actually a situation where it was actually the country praying that at least Musua Lukota and General Bantu Expressions just to get that one seat. Finally and lastly, on this topic, what is your take on that, on the minority parties with their 1 seat and 2 seats? Do you think they're just wasting their time of democracy, or?
I think they're not serious, especially COPE.
COPE.
COPE for the past 5 years, make sure they never had any political program. And if you look, they've been in parliament for 10 years because they were a party. They were formed. They were since 2009. There are no programs. They don't do door-to-doors. They are not in constant contact with the masses. Which is something that parties that have grown, like the EFF, have been doing consistently. With the UDM, they are not in touch with the masses, and that's why they'll keep losing votes. They will keep declining because they are not serious, and they don't also have an ideological identity. to say this is what we stand for.
Okay.
They are not clear. They are always wishy-washy. They are found wanting on a lot of questions.
And to bring you your opinion, Tando?
I seek to differ with that. I think that we must always uphold the principles of democracy. Even if all three of us today would decide we are going to open a political organization, we'd be deemed as stupid people. One, because we were aligning with some structure that we're known to align with. Two, because we don't have the power and will behind it. But I think it's important to note that even the EFF maybe started with a couple of people, but it gained momentum as time went by. And I think that democracy allows them to exist. And if that same democracy even puts them in parliament, we can't just negate the fact that they can exist within this democratic dispensation. It's important that we allow that process to occur. It's important that we understand that South Africa is a country that allows those political organizations.
We're not saying they shouldn't exist.
It takes about
gentlemen,
40 something.
I think we can agree. You have to count on your constituents. You can't pay 600,000
That's what I'm saying.
to the IEC,
That's what I'm saying.
and then you know you're not going to get a seat,
That's
and
what
then
I'm
you've
saying.
lost that 600,000.
This is what I'm differing with, because when you say that, now we pay IEC, some political organizations have different motives. Some are funded even differently. If I can pay IEC to be the only voter in parliament or the only person who's going to raise the narrative of my political party, I don't think that I should be disallowed to do that. And this is what I'm saying about the democratic dispensation. If that's the case, then we can also penalize the ANC for having so much resources to contest.
So
not on a
basically, let me sum up this topic first. He's saying that the ANC itself, if we are going onto that route, the ANC itself should be penalized for having too much resources. If we are going to judge a party that if you don't have a lot of support, you cannot allow to participate. You are saying that even if you just have one supporter, it's fine as long as you can pay that 600. By all means, go and lose that 600,000.
It takes 40-something thousand members to contest and to have a seat in parliament. The fact that they got that is important enough, because you'd have to say then why is the vote of 40-something thousand people not as important?
We're not talking about the same. We're talking about parties that have declined, and we're questioning their seriousness and their commitment. We're not talking about new parties like Saudi's party, and BLF. We're not talking about them, because with them,
okay, I think we can just say it's Al-Jama. I mean, it has one seat.
Because with them, then his argument stands. But we're talking about Aham, we're talking about COPE, we're talking about UDM. These are parties, especially COPE and UDM, these are parties that had a little more representation than they have now. So we're questioning their seriousness. We're not saying they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
We're just questioning, is it worth it?
We're not. Is it worth it? They're
Can
just,
I then jump in?
Like they're just.
But gentlemen, no, we need to move on from this topic. Final last remark on this point. 1 minute,
sure.
Mr. Gwacho.
Then, like I said, then again we must go back to the ANC, because it's always declined. It's also declined. Are they not serious? Is the DA not serious for declining? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You see,
then
that
even if they're not serious, there's a difference between 57% and 1%.
Exactly. Let me then conclude. The perception then of also about democracy and how it should work, even with declining political organization, is nothing in the constitution that says that they can't participate. It's important that they are there on the ballot. It raises, in fact, there wouldn't be discourse today if those political organizations don't exist and they don't stay in that sphere. They help the political environment of South Africa. They help conversations going, because we also trace the COPE's decline back to ANC. We can trace DA's decline back to white privilege. They always tell narratives, and that's why I think, like in terms of just democracy and in terms of discourse that should be pushed in the political realm, it's important that they participate.
Okay, fine. So Saturday, it's the big day. President Ramaphosa is going to be inaugurated as the 6th democratically elected president of the Republic of South Africa. So big congratulations to him. But now, the issue of the matter is the cabinet. Gentlemen, let's discuss the cabinet. I think we can all agree, firstly and foremost, by saying that the cabinet is going to be reduced. That is a matter that has been done and dusted. I mean, we are talking about a cabinet being reduced from 34 ministers and 35 deputy ministers. Just in all, it's about 69 positions in the cabinet. So they are saying, critics are saying it's going to be reduced to just 30 positions. I mean, starting with, let's say, our BRICS countries, when we look at their cabinets, by far and large, South Africa's cabinet it's the biggest. Second coming, India's cabinet with just only 57 positions. When we look at your Russia, it has 22 cabinet positions. Your Brazil, 29 cabinet positions, and China, 21. And although all of these three countries, Russia, Brazil, and China, their populations are just big. South Africa, we are small, but we have a big cabinet. In your opinion, what do you think might have contributed to the cabinet growing from Mandela's term to now to almost 70 positions?
It's patronage. Yeah, what made the cabinet to be this big with a lot of useless ministries? It's patronage, because then the president of the time who enlarged the cabinet to be this big, had a lot of comrades of his that supported his rise to the presidency. That
so he had to reward them.
To reward them, because how else would you explain ministries like they're very useless ministries. Like they're very useless ministries like small business. We don't know what small business does. We don't know what small business does. No, and I don't think even him can tell what the past 5 years what small business has been doing.
Yeah.
We don't know their program. We don't know anything. So it's just a wasteful expenditure, which was for patronage purposes.
So you are saying,
and I'll only believe that the patronage that the cabinet is decreased when it's less than 25 positions. Yes. Because I can tell you what to do. What Cyril is going to do. He's just going to reduce.
No, wait. We'll get onto that one. We are getting on. Yeah. I can see where you are going, Mr. Kwachu. Your take on that?
You see, my perspective on it is that, one, I want to caution us in terms of about comparing with those BRICS countries, because I think in terms of just economy-wise also, and what they had to endure, and the mistakes that they had to correct from their history is not different. It's very different to that of South Africa. But two, I don't think that those cabinet positions are as a result of patronage. I think that it was the perception at the time was to divide certain sectors into small parts so that we can manage them.
Can I stop you on that one?
Sure.
On ENCA, there was a political show. They were interviewing, I think, academics on the composition of the parliament, the criteria. I mean, they were saying that some of the positions in cabinet, they are given to people who do not necessarily qualify for that position. You can tell that appointment is absolutely absurd. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be a doctor to be the Minister of Health.
No.
You need to have had some academic or education career to be the Minister of Education, or international relations degree to be the Minister of International Relations and Corporations.
I don't think so. Panyaza Lissufi never studied anything of education, and he's doing a stellar job in that MEC position.
But some would argue...
No, I'm just... Okay. That's just an example. Right? I think that if we are going to do that, we are going to find it very difficult, because the problem with academia is that we are going to go out of the ANC to sort of look for people that we think best represent that position. I think that there's knowledge within the organization as to who best suits a position, and I think that's how we come then to a decision. We don't just wake up and say Tieho is going to be the Minister of Health.
To stop on that one, time is not on our side, gentlemen. Finally, let's look. I think to start with, DD Mabuza not being sworn in Parliament, I think we didn't expect that one. The narrative is that this is all his grand plan of not going to Cape Town but going back to Lutuli House, so he can work on his constituency and rebuild himself, so that the next 5 years, the next coming conference, he can counterbeat the presidency. Mr. Puso, what is your point on that one?
It's a selfish position that he's taken, because I don't think the man is he's not confident that he's going to be re-elected as deputy president. So I'm saying it's selfish in this sense, because the moment he's sworn in as an MP and he's not elected as deputy, he's not appointed rather as deputy president of the country, then he will lose the benefits that come with the office that he is occupied. So he's just going to be an MP. So he wants assurance first.
So it's a strategic move in your opinion?
On his part. But it's selfish, it's self-serving. And I think that with him, this whole narrative that there is created around there, that there's integrity committee, advising him on what he could have addressed that after his sworn in as an MP.
Yes.
And what difference was this going to make?
I get your point. Tando,
I don't think so at all. I think then it would delegitimize the position that he had accepted. I think Didi Mabuza is a very principled man. We should take that from that. And in that principle, he understands the internal processes of the ANC. He needs first to subject himself to that prior to him even taking a position of that stature. If there are issues that are raised, let us iron them out in that integral committee, so that when he does assume that position, there is nothing haunting him, because we would have dealt with all of the internal processes. But then, of course, opposition will always have a way.
Opposition will always be opposition.
But we can't
put our internal processes.
Didi Mabuza and principle in the same sentence.
Okay. Let's not go there. That is the topic of another day. Tando Kwachu on this one as well. Let us talk on this. I was speaking to Puso about this one before the show. The position of Lindiwe Sisulu. I feel like on my part, she's in a very precarious position. The post of deputy president is open. Lindiwe Sisulu, going back to conference, she had a bid for president. You get my point? But she wasn't going to win. So by her throwing in her lot with Cyril, that margin of has ensured that Cyril wins the conference. So that is why she got to the position of Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Foreign Affairs. So now the post of Deputy President is open. We have a powerhouse in the ANC, NDZ, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. The name of Naledi Pandor has also been thrown in the basket. And then her in the middle. Let's say, in all worst case scenarios, it's either Naledi Pandor or Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma who wins the election. Where does that put Lindiwe Sisulu? Are you saying that she might feel in a besieged position, or there might be a grand plan unfolding here?
And not necessarily. I think Lindiwe Sisulu is very mature in her politics, right? And she understands why she has taken the stance that she has taken now. That's one. But two, she also understands that it's dependent on the ANC's top six and the president where she's aligned and whether or not she will be deputy. So we can't sangomize where she actually.
So you're saying about this matter is actually
irrespective of what the outcome is, whether it's Nkosazana, whether Didi Mabuza comes back, whether it's Lindiwe Sisulu, all of these four powerhouses are mature enough to understand their responsibility beyond and above the position of a deputy president.
All right. It's okay. When we look at the likes of Jackson Mthembu, who did not return to Parliament, Daily Maverick suggests that perhaps he's going to be sworn in as the Minister of Communications Department. Also, when we have the Department of Mineral and Energy, they will be merged. There are even some saying that the Department of Basic Education and Higher Education will also be merged to be cut into one. But to start on this, these two controversial characters, Nomvula Mokanyane, she was not sworn in Parliament. Some are saying it's Ramaphosa's move of not sending her to Parliament and being part of the cabinet. Puso, Amid Busasa and all agrees Nomvula Mokonyane not going back to Parliament. Are you saying it's expected? It was expected. The president did right by not sending her back to Parliament.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily the president who did that. I don't think it's the president who did that. I think it's her, and maybe
But are you saying that
surrounding her.
The Busasa and Agrizi did not? These allegations.
There are serious allegations against her.
Yeah.
There are serious, very serious corruption allegations, and they keep on mounting. So what she did, I think it's very good. And for someone who loves their own country and they believe, if she believes in Tumamina, like they all believe, then it's a good move.
One question for you. Batabile Dlamini, she was sworn in Parliament. Do you think she's going back to the presidency? Just keep it short.
Do I think?
Yeah.
I believe she's capable enough. I believe that she's well equipped to go back into the presidency, and I wouldn't be shocked if she does. Batabile Dlamini is a trusted, seasoned cadre of the African National Congress, and I wouldn't be shocked if she goes back.
So, gentlemen, concluding remarks, election outcomes and the cabinet. What do you think? Puso, your concluding remarks, 2 minutes.
I think the turnout to the elections tell us the whole story of what has been happening in the past 25 years. We had 9 million South Africans who didn't register to vote, plus 9 million South Africans who chose to stay at home. They registered, but they chose to stay at home. So in total, we had 18 million South Africans who boycotted elections. 25 years later, we should ask ourselves, what is the problem? And those questions, it's the African National Congress. We put that at the doorstep of the African National Congress. They must tell us, why is it that 18 million South Africans 25 years later do not see the need to vote?
Okay. And you, Mr. Kwachu, concluding remarks?
I think the election outcome sent a very cautioning message to the governing party. Not that it should stop being the governing party, that it should wake up and realize that there's a greater fight that needs to be fought. That fight is in the urban areas. That fight is a fight of land. That fight is a fight of the black question, of the land question. And when we start to answer that question, I think even those who had abandoned their home will come back home and abandon red t-shirts also, and understand Uguti, they still have a home in the governing and ruling party.
Right.
Yeah, well.
So, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you. Well, viewers at home, thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe and link on Linking Space TV, Bantu Expressions. I am Tieho Arkoza signing off. And you can catch me on Instagram, authentic_Cabral. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you. Highly appreciated.